Hi, global students. How are you? It's Miss Hanovich.
Hi, everyone. It's Mrs. Hebert.
We hope everyone's doing well. We hope you enjoyed the lesson from Tuesday. We really have been enjoying seeing some of the notes that you guys have been sharing with us.
Right, and the comments too. We really love when you guys are commenting back to us. It's always
Yeah,
fun,
on like
fun getting
private.
those in my email.
It's awesome. It's awesome, awesome. All right, so it is Thursday. It is the last day you're going to hear from us this week. So we have a lot to get through. We're actually going to finish up Africa this week. If you look here, it says next week we're going to start the Renaissance. So we have a lot to wrap up, and we have a bit to do. So we're going to listen to this awesome screencast, check mark it. You're going to complete 3 documents, and then you're going to take a very, very, very short Africa quiz.
Super short,
Yeah.
like 9.5 questions.
The and a half. I like that. Okay. So we're gonna start, and we're gonna start the presentation by kind of looking at something we were taking a look at last week. We had mentioned that these 3, knowing where these kingdoms and empires are going to be important because we're going to get a little bit more into detail with them today.
Right. So I think on Tuesday we pointed out during our screencast that we're focused on Mali, Ghana, and Songhai. And typically, if we were in class, Ms. Hanovich and I would we would ask 3 of you to come up to the board and outline where they are and kind of notice what part of the country all 3 of these kingdoms were in. And they are all in West Africa. So these become known as the West African trading kingdoms.
Awesome. And then the next question that should be popping in your head is trading. What are they going to trade? So we're going to kind of look at that. Yeah. I know everybody is thinking that right now.
Totally. Oh my goodness. All right. So I want to talk about Mali because Mali is my favorite trading kingdom. And I don't know how many of you remember, but when we wear our Walt Whitman jerseys, in the social studies department, we all have different historical figures on the back. Mm-hmm. And I have Mansa Musa on my back because he's pretty awesome. And he ruled this kingdom called Mali. So the whole reason that Mali becomes a very wealthy trading kingdom is because they had tons of gold. And I don't know how many of you have seen like gold being mined or harvested, but if you look at that middle image on this slide, you can see it's not a very clean job. It requires a lot of work, but it does make this kingdom really, really rich. Also, I don't know how many of you have heard of Timbuktu, but Timbuktu becomes a trading center because of this gold getting traded through Mali and into Timbuktu. And again, Mansa Musa, he's our guy in charge.
Yep. Something else to consider is that he was a devout Muslim. I don't know, devout, meaning that someone who took his faith very seriously. He lived by it. And because of that, he ordered mosques to be built. And that we have seen similar shapes like this before in buildings when we talked about our Muslim or Islam unit. And a lot of them are actually still around today. Like you can go and visit some of those mosques. They're still standing, which is actually really, really cool. And not only is Mali now noteworthy for its wealth, but also because it helped promote education, universities, something like the House of Wisdom, things like that.
Right.
The other super cool thing is that Mansa Musa is actually considered the richest person in all of history.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. That at first I was like, how is that possible? Like, how do you look that up? But if you guys were to click this article, and that you don't, if you want to, it's kind of cool reading. They actually do adjust it for inflation over years and years and years, which is actually pretty neat. And yeah, Bill Gates doesn't even come close to Mansa Musa, actually.
Right. And every time you see Mansa Musa, because this is like the perfect image to use as an example, he's always holding gold because that's what he goes down in history for, is controlling this gold trade. And this picture is actually from a really, really famous map, one of the first more detailed maps created in world history called the Catalan Atlas.
That's so cool. Awesome. So check it out. They have a whole list of like, the top wealthiest people ever in all of history. Ladies, there are no women on that list, so we must do better going forward. We have to make a lot more money.
Yeah.
All right. Where am I? Oh, am I on the right one? Yes. Okay. So because of wealth, because it's so wealthy, because there are a lot of buildings, they're especially devoted to education, you're going to have a lot of people travel there, especially a lot of scholars, right? When we think scholars, we should think someone who's like in search of knowledge or scholarly, they want to study. And here's, a famous name, Miss Hebert.
Oh, we've got Ibn Battuta.
Thank
So
you.
he goes down, he's like the first, one of the first historians. So he is a scholar and he travels to Mali and he writes down all of his observations. There's written records about his description of Mansa Musa and the gold and the salt that was being traded. And so he was a very important figure at this point in history. Now, if you look over here at this really awesome picture of this camel, something that we forgot to mention was that salt was equivalent to gold. Mm-hmm. So if you can wrap your head around that, I don't know. I have tons of salt in my house. I love salt.
Same.
I love salty food. But salt is pretty cheap right now. Like you can go into the grocery store and get a big box of salt for, I don't know, $4.
Yeah.
You can't go to the grocery store and give like a gold necklace and get a box of salt. But back in this point in history, you could. They traded gold for salt. And this is what those big salt blocks looked like. So gold and salt were the two major natural resources that were equivalent to each other and traded for each other, which is crazy.
Yeah, and there was like a lot of reason for why salt was so important. Which we'll get to a little bit when we talk about Ghana too, especially because when you see that really come to be. But yeah, because so many people are traveling over there, they're also going to start adapting that religion that they see is very prevalent within that city, which we know is Islam. Also, I was reading that he originally was planning on being gone for 3 years, and then it ended up being like 24, which is kind of crazy.
24-year trip.
Yeah. All right, so like all good things, they must come to an end. So eventually there is a fall of Mali. And usually you see this a lot, especially with strong rulers. Once they pass on or they die, if there's not a set descendant or one strong person to take the place, chances are that empire is going to struggle. It's going to crumble. We saw that a lot with Rome, right? Remember when the Roman Empire started to fall? There was like all these different emperors trying to claim power. It's kind of going to be the same thing here, where Mansa Musa's descendants are going to fight over who's going to be in control of this land. More importantly, who's going to be in control of all the gold. Makes sense. So,
yeah, sorry.
No, go.
They fall and lose control of that gold and salt trade, which is what then they go broke, right? Because they don't have any control over the trade. They're not making any more money.
Yeah, bummer. So with the fall, we're gonna have somebody else rise, right? And that's the second thing we had talked about, or the second place we had talked about in that map was Ghana. Mm-hmm. Again, considered the most important thing is gold and salt. Curious, is this meme still relevant, or are we showing our age with this? I'm not really sure. Sorry.
I love it. But it's true, because this is and this is why I wish that we were doing this in person, because I actually keep a thing of salt in my desk in 528 that I usually bring into class and ask you guys, how much do you think that this costs? Would you trade your gold jewelry for this thing of salt? And kids every year, they always say no, because they're not equivalent to each other anymore. Now we mass produce salt, but back then salt was a delicacy and you needed it to preserve your food. You needed it in your diet to be able to get across the desert, believe it or not.
Yep.
So salt was super important. And basically all you have to know about Ghana is that Ghana was the land of gold. They had so much gold, and after Mali falls, they come in and they took over this gold and salt trade.
Yep. G&G,
for a
Ghana
while.
Gold. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Miss Hebert had actually just hit on it about the salt. I know it is odd for us to consider salt being that valuable, but remember what time period we're talking about. This is a very, very long time ago, before the age of refrigerators. So in order to help preserve a lot of the food, they did need salt. Besides it being super tasty.
Yes. And you can see here, so on this slide, you can see they use the salt also in their artwork and in their furniture. I mean, this is an example of a throne made of gold.
That's incredible too, right?
Yeah.
Where am I going? Oh, and this is interesting. That the king of Ghana was only allowed to keep gold nuggets, so he could keep the price of gold high. I love that too. Yeah. What a swell guy. Right? It has to be valuable. If it's valuable, it has to be pretty rare.
Right, exactly.
And again, just like what happens with Mali, Ghana's going to rise and Ghana's going to fall due to invaders. Dun, dun, dun.
Right. Exactly. And don't worry so much about the names of these two leaders. Like I said, Mansa Musa is really like, he's our guy for these trading kingdoms. But it is important to know that these, just like happened in Mali, they rise and then they fall.
Yep. And then here is the last empire that we talked about, Songhai. And look, here's all three that you can see all together. So after Mali declines, people are going to break away and form a new civilization near a river. And this is when we would ask, why do you think near the river? Why is that important?
Right. And you would all say stuff like, well, you need it to survive and to trade and all those good answers that we've been talking about all year.
Jumping out of your chairs. I know it. I totally know it. And then... I missed it. But those two leaders that we had mentioned on the bottom there, they're going to recapture the city of Timbuktu and kind of bring it back to its former glory, considering where it used to be.
Right. And again, over here in the bottom right corner, you can see they're going to standardize the weights. They're going to standardize the measures, currency. So now they're going to take that trading to the next level. So now maybe if you don't have salt to trade for gold, but you have some currency, you've got some money, you can still get your gold.
There you go. And again, if it rises, eventually...
it's gonna fall.
And this time, it's from an internal force. You're going to have a civil war, meaning that they're going to fight amongst each other.
Right.
And it's going to become very weak, and then you'll have some maybe outsiders take advantage of that weakness.
Right. And take over. And we will come back to Africa again during our last unit because, again, this rise and fall and this unrest is going to come into play when we get to the Age of Exploration towards the end of the year.
All right, and that's it for our slides. So now what you guys are going to do is you're going to open up these documents. So hold. And it's like movie magic. We're now on a different screen. So you're going to open this up and you're going to have this document.
Right. And this first one is totally optional for you guys. This is pretty similar to the information in the article that Ms. Hanovich pointed out in the slideshow, just going over Mansa Musa's wealth, because that's always fascinating and kids always love learning about that. So we just threw it in there for you.
Yeah, take a look. I think that's so cool. I think it's really, really neat. So take a look, read through it. But then here's our meat and potatoes. We have 3 documents for you guys to look at. Map, a reading, and a chart.
And they're short, yeah.
Yeah. So, the reason why we're having you do this, again, complete it. If you would like for us to check it over, you can always send it to us. We're always happy to look at it. But what you really are doing this for is it's going to help you study for this. So if you go and click on that Google form, you will have a very short Africa quiz right here. And this right here is a very true sentiment. We do miss you all.
We do.
So you have, your name, class period, and we have all multiple choice questions except for our half question, which what Ms. Hebert referred to before. And it's just asking, how is this going for you guys? Do you have any concerns, suggestions? Do you like what Ms. Hebert and I are doing with the, talking together at once? What don't you like? How's everything at home? But please keep everything school appropriate.
Right, exactly. Please keep your, we do care about what you put here and we are going to take it seriously. Yeah. But with that being said, keep it appropriate. Again, if there's something we should know about, definitely let us know. But if you're really just looking to complain about something, maybe don't put it there.
As my parent, get some cheese for that whining. All right. Do we have any questions, concerns? You can always email us.
Totally. And also, guys, I'm looking at questions 1 through 9 here. Every single question goes through. It's either directly related to what we said today or the work that you did on Tuesday.
Oh, which brings up the other good point. Look it up top. Or what do we have? Here it is. You may use your notes, screencasts, etc.
Right.
Go for it. This is the chance. Get that 100.
Yeah, use it all. This is what's being graded this week, okay?
Sound good? All right, my friends. We miss you. We hope you have a great weekend.
Yes, enjoy. And you'll hear from us again on Tuesday.
All right. Bye, friends.
Bye.